Welcome to LITE It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of LITE It Up. I am your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. It's been a little while since we've been with an educator on LITE It Up podcast, but I searched high and low across the US to find this educator who is making moves. I'm sure that you all have heard of him, Dr. Marck Abraham, who is the author of What Success Looks Like, Increasing High School Graduation Rates Among Males of Color. Welcome to LITE It Up, Dr. Marck. How are you today?
I'm good, Doc. It's been a long time coming, and we finally made this happen. So I appreciate you allowing me to be on your podcast. And shout out to everybody who's going to take time to watch this. You are my MVP.
All right. Well, I'm so happy to have you on. I reached out to you. We won't say how long ago that was. You've been a busy man across the country promoting your book, What Success Looks Like. And I want to say that I'm very excited for you and what you are doing to help transform education. But before we get into your book, just want to, give you an opportunity to tell the audience a little bit about yourself. We were talking prior to coming on air, talking about the fact that you play a little bit of football and you're from Buffalo. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you. Well, technically, I'm not from Buffalo. I do rep Buffalo. So
Okay.
shout out to all the Buffalonians. Shout out to Buffalo Bills and everybody that like to eat the Buffalo wings. Somebody said I came. Buffalo wings actually came from Buffalo. Yes, Buffalo wings were originated in Buffalo, New York. Just in case you didn't know that. But I'm originally from Miami, Florida. Shout out to 305. Shout out to Ricky Rose if he's watching this. Trick Daddy, Trina, anybody from Miami that's watching this, I give you a shout out. My family is originated from Haiti, so I'm West Indian, Caribbean descent. Sock by say to all of those, what's going on to all my brethren. I am a product of urban education. I did play football. So I came from Miami, Florida, South Florida, and then I got a scholarship to play football at the University of Buffalo, and we ended up winning a championship. And I stayed in Buffalo, New York, for the weather, of course.
Really?
No. I got my bachelor's degree in sociology, and I got 2 master's degrees in one in school counseling and one in school administration, and then I got a doctorate from St. John Fisher College. I was a former school counselor, former dean of students, former assistant principal, former principal, and I was noted for having 1 out of 10 schools, I think in 2019, in the whole state of New York that had one of the highest graduation rates for Black males in the whole state. That's when you say, woo, woo, that's when you do that. That's when you give me that. And then I launched my career to be a consultant because I saw what was going on in the country. And we'll touch on this, but I saw what was going on in the country and I said, hey, I want to make a difference. Because most schools around the country, they have, if you don't know, Black males have the lowest graduation rates and brown males have the lowest graduation rates among any other population in the country. And so looking around and seeing what was going on in the country and seeing what ultimately happens to young Black and brown males when they don't get a high school diploma, I said, I want to make a difference. So I followed my heart, I followed God, and said, I got to leave this comfortable job as a principal where I've made so much change, took a graduation rate from mid 60s all the way to 87% and 94% for Black males, and said, I want to go out and have a bigger challenge, which is to support principals in this work. And like you said, we wrote the book, You got to pick the book up. It's
Right.
fire. I read it. Look, I got my pen in there because I'm still reading. I'm rereading my stuff because it just
Mhm.
feels good to me. So now we go around the country supporting principals on, how do we actually help them increase graduation rates for Black and brown males? And I've been blessed to have worked in Utah, and the principal called me in Utah. I said, you got Black people in Utah? Why they do that? I thought it was like 7 Black people in Utah. They all played for the Utah Jazz. That's what I thought. So forgive my ignorance. I'll stop talking because I know you
Yeah.
got more questions, but I'll let you go. You asked me if you said if I want to talk, I talk. I told you I
I
could
see. You can talk. You can talk.
talk.
So let me ask you this. What made you decide? Let's start with your early career. You mentioned that you were a school counselor. What made you decide to go into that field? Was there something in your past growing up being a student where there was someone who maybe, had a profound impact on you that made you want to go into the field of education in some form?
Now, Doc, let me ask you: is your degree in psychology or counseling or anything like that?
My degree is in organizational leadership with a psychology background. Yes, it is.
All right, because I'm about to say you ain't gonna have me on your couch crying or nothing like this. Talking about what made me. So I tell you though, honestly, what made me decide to even get an education was growing up in South Florida.
Mhm.
Um, I had a best friend that lived right across the street from me. His name was Ty. And then
Mhm.
I had another best friend, Steven, that lived down the street from me. And Doc, these were my homeboys. I mean, we
Mhm.
did everything together. We hollered at girls, excuse my vernacular. That means we tried to approach girls and talk to them. We went to the
Mhm.
movies. And now these boys, I mean, I got a scholarship to play football, but they way better than me in Little League. I mean, they was doing that and one stuff. Ty was always running people over in football and Little League. I mean, he was a beast.
Mhm.
And so we went to elementary school, middle school together, and then in high school, I went to a school called Deerfield Beach High School, and the coaches saw me. I was about 6'3" at the time, 245 pounds, and the coach said, "You're gonna play Division I football."
Mhm.
And then all the supports the school put around me, they were surrounding me to get to play Division I football. As a result, had about 17 scholarships on the table, and I chose the University of Buffalo. The rest is history.
Mhm.
But Ty and Steve had 2 different experiences. They went to one of those high schools that was discipline first.
Mhm.
You mess up, we're gonna kick you out. So they kept getting suspended out of school.
Mhm.
Consequently, they found themselves of unsavory behaviors in the community. Then they both went to jail. And by the age of 25, Ty and Steve were both killed. They were dead and gone. And so what I knew at 25 was that exponentially, if Black and brown males do not get a high school diploma, they end up in modern day slavery, the prison system, or they end up getting killed in the streets. And so that prompted my passion to say, I don't want to be on the sideline. I don't want to be the person talking about what's going on, talking about the teachers. I want to get in the game because I know I can make a difference. And I've
Mhm.
been blessed enough to say, as a school counselor at a K-8 building, I made a difference.
Mhm.
As an assistant principal, I made a difference. As a principal, I made a difference. So now, as a consultant of my own company, we're making a difference. And the focus is to increase graduation rates so that we can change the narrative and change and increase the graduation rate for Black and brown males. So if anybody watching me, I need you to just say this. I need you to throw this in the atmosphere with me. I want you to say Black and brown males can graduate high school at 80, 90, and 100%. It's possible. Just say that with me if you don't mind, because that's my vision for the country.
Let me ask you this. What is it, um, from your experience, that has prevented Black males from graduating at a higher rate?
Now, this is for me to make it simplistic.
Mhm.
And I'm going to try to make it as simplistic as possible. And because I have so many, when I say this, I always get this one person who shouts out something and then I have to argue with them for 45 minutes. So don't be that person.
I don't want you arguing with me for
Don't.
45 minutes on my show.
Yeah, because I say the reason why Black males are not graduating at a high rate is because the principal.
Mm-hmm.
It's because the school system.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of the lack of systems, the successful systems that they put in place. Prior to that, it's because of the research. Most research looks at Black males and Black young people from a deficit model.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very so if you don't have any research that supports that this is possible,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have any research supporting that Black males can graduate at 90%,
Mm-hmm.
if there's no narrative that says Black men can graduate at 90%, then there's a thought process that we will accept in most urban districts. If you do the research,
Mm-hmm.
most urban districts have graduation rates 50% or lower for Black and brown males.
Right.
Some schools have 30%. So there's no community outrage for that.
Right.
I say that. I say right now in big urban districts, you won't find, for the most part, in Miami, in Broward, in New York City, in Buffalo, New York, in Baltimore, Chicago, you
Mm-hmm.
will not find where there's a high concentration of Black and brown people, you will not typically find a graduation rate over 50% for Black males.
Right.
If you don't throw the computer down right now and you're a Black parent, then we became desensitized to that. So to
Mm-hmm.
answer your question is there's a system that doesn't believe that Black and brown males can do it, that they can achieve high rate, and it starts with a belief. That's why I ask people to say that with me.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with a belief, and then there's a lack of research. So that's why I wrote a dissertation, I wrote journal articles, and I wrote a book to say, listen, we're not gonna to settle for there being a lack of research, because now we got the research to support this. To answer the question in a simple form, it's the system that's in place. It's the school system that doesn't believe that Black males can graduate, that don't put systems in place and hold teachers accountable and hold themselves accountable to achieve high academic success for Black and brown males. And then there's implicit bias that when we look at Black boys and Black young men, oftentimes we only see them as entertainment. Either you playing football or you tap dancing or singing for our entertainment. And if you don't do that, then we don't see any value for you.
I can attest to the systems that are in place. Not only did I work for Chicago Public Schools for 10 years, so I've
Okay.
seen all of the data. I oversee teacher education programs at the University of Illinois at Chicago. But I'm also, as I mentioned to you, the parent of a Black male. Just so happens that my son has a twin sister. So I've been doing my own bit of data gathering and research and looking at how the school districts that we're in suburban Chicago, and we're in a pretty good school district, which has one of the highest property taxes in Cook County. But I have had to, as someone who works in the educational system, someone who is educated, I've had to advocate for all of my children, but in particular for my son, because I've seen where if I were to allow it, the teachers, the guidance counselor would have set him on a track to either just take college prep classes versus AP or honors classes. And my son and my daughter are both academically on the same level. Very good students. And I had a situation just last year, actually, where he and his sister happened to be in the same English class, same teacher, same period. He had a higher grade in his English course, it was an honors English course, than his sister. The teacher recommended his sister for AP English for junior year and recommended my son for honors English. His geometry teacher recommended him for a college prep algebra trig because she said, well, it's not that he can't do the work. I mean, he got to be in my class. But I feel that if he's in a college prep course, then that'll give him enough leeway and enough room to rise to be a leader. So he won't have so much pressure on him.
Mm.
I said, that's not how we operate in my household.
Right.
So I went to the guidance counselor. I sent an email to each one of the teachers asking for their rationale for recommending him for college prep, because, and not to downplay college prep, but in my household, you're going to do more than, I want to see what you're capable of. At least try. Can't
Right.
handle it, we'll make some adjustments. So at the end of the day, his schedule was switched. He had AP English, AP US History, Honors Physics, Honors Trig, all honors and AP classes this school year.
Mm-hmm.
All A's and B's.
Mm-hmm.
His entire just demeanor changed in the way he approached time management, because he knew he had a heavy course load. So he was very focused, getting his work out of the way. And so as a result, now, high GPA, but had I allowed these individuals to steer my child on a college prep track versus continuing on the honors and AP track, which is what I had set up for them, then that would have been problematic as he begins to prepare to apply to college. So I always try to tell parents that you also have to be your child's advocate. But I often wonder whether or not parents know how to advocate properly for their children.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I try to hold not only the teachers accountable, but the school leadership accountable as well. And as a former principal, Doc, then you know that, the success of the school also depends on the type of leader that you have in the building.
Right. Right. So, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, when we talk about urban school districts, most parents are not sophisticated enough to either understand or differentiate. They'll say, "Hey, my son got A's. That's good enough for me. My son got B's. My son got C's. Man, I'm just happy C's get degrees, right?" So they don't understand the privileges that come with an AP course. And shame on that principal at your school who was not doing the work to track the data to be on top of that and say to that teacher,
I'm gonna stop you there. You can't talk about my principal.
Hey, listen.
No, let me tell you what I did. I don't, because I will tell you right now, that principal actually left the district this year because I would have to give you the backstory on this particular district. They were not ready for the type of leadership that she provided, but I was able to go and address my concerns with her.
And she made a difference.
She definitely made a difference. But I also know how to advocate for my children. So it didn't matter. I went to her to give her information to say to her, I know what type of parent I am, but I know there are parents who will take the teacher's word at face value or the guidance counselor word at face value and not challenge. But that's not me. But I want to let you know, as someone who's working in the field, here are the responses that I received from the teachers in your school about my fight to get my children into, the classes that I felt like they should be in. But I can also tell you that the culture of a school also makes a difference. Our former principal was viewed as an outsider, so to speak, in this district as well.
Well, so what my research talks about, and we talk about in the book, is that principals are number one with regards to creating culture in the building.
Right.
And when I said shame on your principal, it's not a knock to your principal. I'm not bashing your principal. All I'm saying is that when you see most principals got so much going on and they have so many things on their plate. So this is why we give principals systems. And one thing that I talk to principals about is you have to look at the data. So if you have a complex school, you got 2,000 kids, some things fall through the cracks. So I have principals track their course passing data at a 5-week and 10-week mark. And then I have principals talk to teachers and say, I want you to explain to me who's performing well in your class. And then now if you know who's performing well in your class, and then you can say, well, all right, so you have 50 kids in 3 classes, whatever the case may be, and 95% of the kids are passing. Let me see who's the black kids that are passing, and what's the percentage of those kids are actually going to AP honors, and who's being assigned where. So as a principal, it's so imperative that they're making that advocacy for the children. See, because this is why I say shame on the principal, but not a knock to your principal, but shame to most principals, because you shouldn't have to advocate like that. They should already know that.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So it's and one principal might argue back, well, I got so much going on, but your job, them babies don't have unions. So what if mama was working 3 jobs, trying to run a podcast, trying to do this, trying to do all the things she's doing, and that just falls through the crack? You should always be raising the bar for your students. So when the kids walk into the school, you have to look at the babies as if they're your children.
Right.
So I was told so we have something called Regents exams in New York. So I told my kids, I said, listen, I looked at the data, and the data said that we had 0% advanced Regents diplomas. Advanced Regents diploma. So you get a Regents diploma, you get advanced Regents diploma, and you get a local diploma. Local diplomas, if you get special ed, and that's just like basically like a piece of paper they gave you just to move on.
Okay.
So when I took over, the graduation rate was about 60%. As I started to climb that graduation rate, what I saw that was glaring, looking at that data, was that we had 1%, 2% advanced Regents diplomas. Advanced Regents diplomas mean they're taking all of the rigorous classes that prepare them for college, so that when they go to college, they don't have to be in these remedial classes. Because when they go in remedial classes in a junior college or a community college, they run out of financial aid.
Right.
See, because here's the game. I noticed that I had my kids, I would send them off to college, and I got the presidents on the phone of these colleges say, listen, I'm sending my babies off to you guys. And then 2 years later, I see them working at Walmart, and I ask them what, no offense to Walmart, but I see them working at Walmart or working some telejob, and I say, hey, did you graduate from that community college? Nah, Dr. Abraham, I ran out of financial aid. So I got on the phone and had a conference with the local community college and said, hey, what's going on? They say, Doc, well, what's happening is because they're not taking math their senior year, and they're not taking higher level courses their senior year, consequently, when they go to college, they're not equipped. So if they're not equipped to go to college, then what happens and transpires is they have to take these remedial classes, they run out of financial aid, and then now they get shooed on, or they just get frustrated because them remedial classes give them 0 credits towards that college degree. So I told all my kids, you're going to take the higher level courses, and you're going to take them AP courses. You can get that advanced Regent diploma. And then what happened, the teacher said they would say behind my back to the kids and school counselors that say stuff like, you don't need that class to graduate. You don't need that class. You don't need them AP classes, because kids is new for them. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do the extra work. So I brought all 1,200 kids in the auditorium with all the teachers there, and I said, listen, if any teacher tells you that you don't need these classes that I'm putting you in to graduate, and they want you to take lower classes, I want you to tell them that Dr. Abraham want me to ask you this: would you say the same thing to your child?
Right.
See, that's the responsibility of the parent, the lead parent in the building. That's mama and daddy. That's that principal, because principals have, they have, what they say, parental locus in the building. They're responsible as a parent. And as a parent, when you send that child to your school, you need to trust that everything that principal is putting in place is to push your kid to the highest level possible so they can have as much success in the real world. So when I push back on that principle, it ain't a knock, because I don't know that principle. What I'm saying is their responsibility is to tell you that I believe your kid needs to be in AP courses, because we only got 5% of our kids in AP courses, and all those 5 are all white. And we got a few black kids in them, and none of them in AP classes. And then on top of that, the ones that are none of them are young men. Shame on that school.
Well, I will say,
and I get it. You love your principal. I ain't saying. I just look at the numbers.
not, and I'm going to tell you about the demographics of the school, because this goes into, I have always believed that, um, our children should have people, teachers, educators who look like them in front of them. Unfortunately, that is not the case. I mean, even when we talk about the percentage of Black male teachers, it's only what, 2% um, in public schools. But
But that's by design. I mean, I just want you to know that.
oh, I know it's by design.
Yeah, but that goes back to Brown versus Board of Education. If we really
Right.
want to talk about critical race theory and what
Mhm.
the critical race theories will push back on, but that's definitely by design.
Right. I just know that in our district there's 85% Black students. Um, Yet the teaching staff is 75% white.
You got
Um,
85% Black kids in a suburban district.
oh, absolutely.
What? I got to come to that. I
You
want to
gotta
see
come
that.
here. Yes.
Hey, tell them to send me to Chicago. I'm ready. If the superintendent of this district holler at Dr. Abraham, I promise I'll be good. I won't even use words like holler at me. I'll say, hey, come call Dr. Abraham. I use all my colloquial words. I use all my professional words. I apologize. Yeah.
It's fine, but yes. So the way, Chicago is segregated, the most segregated city in the country, and so the way our suburban areas are set up, I'm in the south suburban portion of Chicago, so that's where your folks who look like me migrate. I mean, it's a little diverse. And then your northern suburbs is where your Caucasians are. So the demographics are going to be different in those school districts. So this particular school district, we definitely have a large percentage of African Americans in the district. But not only that, the school's been, a blue ribbon school. So the school district prides itself on, offers so many AP classes. They began offering AP classes and pushed that in the IB program in ninth grade. But
Mm-hmm.
my experience was that I saw firsthand teachers trying to push my son on a different track. And so it made me wonder how many other Black male students, not talking about the Black females, because if I
Mm-hmm.
were to look at the
Mm-hmm.
percentage, I'm sure that would be very telling. But I was able to see it because I have twins who are, like I said, same level academically. So I'm paying closer attention to, let's say, maybe if my son were older and then I had the daughter coming along, maybe I would not have paid that much
Mm-hmm.
attention to it. But because
Mm-hmm.
they're in the same grade, you know, I'm that parent. I want, if you're going to get access to something that's going to help you along the way, the other one is too. So I try to have, um,
No,
but
I
no,
mean, you could, you're absolutely right. And my work oftentimes is not, and I can, but my work oftentimes is not in the suburban
mhm,
space.
mhm,
Um, but it's a beautiful thing to hear that you got 85% of Black and brown children
yeah,
that are at a blue ribbon school. Shout out to that school district. They
yes,
need, we will make sure our young men are benefit from that, not just getting a high school diploma, but getting all of the resources. So if there's any parents, you know, listen to Doc, what she's saying, do what she did. And even if you don't, even if you're not as sophisticated to say, hey, my son need AP, you AP courses is simply a recommendation by a teacher. That is it.
exactly.
There's no test. There's nothing to get into AP courses, but AP gives you higher GPA points. It
Mhm,
also looks better on a resume,
mhm,
on the transcript, and it gives you more access to better colleges. So then, depending on the college you go to, it change your life.
right,
You can go to a local community college and go to an Ivy League college, and your whole life will change forever.
right,
So you want to provide your young people and your young men an opportunity to go on. But when you talk about Chicago public schools
oh, that's a whole totally different.
and what's happening to Black boys in Chicago public school,
Hmm.
not just in high school, but how we are deteriorating their confidence and eating away at their love for education at third grade,
Uh-huh.
and then beat them down all the way up to seventh, eighth grade. By the time they get to ninth grade, they at eighth grade they already have romanticized and flirted with the idea that this ain't for me.
Right.
And then once they get into sophomore year, they get old enough to drop out. They do because the system has pushed them out. And
Mm-hmm.
then you see the same thing once they finally make it into graduating from high school and they go off to post-secondary education. You see these educators at the post-secondary level say, "We get these black males on our campus and they don't want to stay and they don't graduate."
Mm-hmm.
What? Why do you think that is? Because the football players graduate.
Right.
See, because what happens is the football players are graduating because you're showing them love because they put money in those pockets.
That's right.
But when you're getting the best black males the country has to offer and they get to your college campus and you telling me they just disengage at this
Mm-hmm.
point, it's
Mm-hmm.
because your college system does not put enough supports around them so they can be successful. See, because that's the problem. So it happens all throughout, a young black man's journey in
Mm-hmm.
education. That the
Mm-hmm.
system says unless you play football, unless you play basketball, unless you can play a trumpet or something,
Mm-hmm.
unless you can entertain us and
Right.
bring us some money, you've never seen a young black man and walked up to him and said, "Hey man, you look like a next judge."
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
never heard anybody in my entire life walk up to me and say, "Man, you look like you're gonna be a doctor when you grow up."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even today, no one ever has walked up to me when I'm just casually walking around saying, "What you do for a living? A doctor?
Yeah.
You a football player? You?" It's absurd. So this is the battle we fight, and this is and what I'm asking parents to do. I was talking to a judge yesterday, and I said, "Listen," he said, "Does your book give parents skills to advocate for their black males?"
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, right? Because ideally the book is full of principles, but if you are a parent and you pick up the "What Success Looks Like" book,
Mm-hmm.
you hear a journey, you see a journey of a black man that's a doctor that was illiterate coming out of high school. See, I graduated high school,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't read. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely couldn't write. My first year in college, I think I got a 1.4 or 1.6 GPA. I went to ELA class, and I didn't have a mama like you who was
Mm-hmm.
gonna make sure that I take all of. My mama was just like, boy, she first. I'm first
First
generation
generation.
American,
Mm-hmm.
first generation college.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
my mama just say, "Hey man, listen, whatever them teachers tell you to do, shut your mouth, do what they got to do, and let's
Mm-hmm.
get out of here. And you got to go to college." No, there was no blueprint.
Right. Right.
So nevertheless, my first year going to Buffalo, New York, we was a losing football team, so we didn't get all the football perks. We
Mm-hmm.
sucked. So my first year, this professor, they gave me a 1.4 GPA. She marked my whole paper up. And I could read, I just didn't read often.
Mm-hmm.
And I would write words like I write DA. I
Mm-hmm.
want what's happening. My
Mm-hmm.
southern accent was real thick at the time, but
Okay.
that ebonics was strong on that paper. Teacher put so much red on it, I thought it was the blood of Jesus. I said, "What's going on this paper? This is crazy. This can't be mine." Yeah, I took that paper and folded it and put it like this. Oh, this ain't mine. I looked around like, "What y'all got?" Because that joker was crazy.
So, what was the turnaround for you?
Honestly, to give God the glory, I got to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got saved at 19 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I was bouncing. I was dropping classes and dropping classes because every time they had a writing assignment, I said, "I ain't about to write, man. I'm gonna drop that class." And I only went to the classes that I didn't have to drop. And then the rubber met the road where I had to take the class. I had to go back to that ELA 101. So
Mm-hmm.
I prayed out to God and I said, "God, help me." I'm 6'4", 275 pounds at the time. I'm crying in my dorm room, just me and God. God, help me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't write. I need your help. And honest story, I met this. I didn't meet him physically, so if he ever watched this, tell him to holler at me. I want to be in his church one day. But I met this pastor online named Dr. Creflo Dollar,
Oh
and
yeah.
he
Mm-hmm.
was preaching, and I
Mm-hmm.
was going after God, and I just kept writing what this man was saying because I was trying to get close to God. I wasn't about writing at that point. I was just trying to get close to God. And I kept writing all his sermons, introduction, body, conclusion, wrote a thesis statement. That's how I learned how to write.
Wow.
Yeah, I learned how to write. And then, I mean, I needed support. So I did that. And then I started to have the faith and the courage to actually go to the tutoring lounge and say, show me how to do this. And then I just put everything I had into it. Now I'm a doctor. So for educators, if you're watching this, don't put no limitations on these kids.
That's right. That's right.
Remove that ridiculous notion that you have that if they can't read by third grade, they'll never be on reading level. The devil is a lie. You telling me without if you so what you for? I mean, just if you're a teacher and you subscribe to the ideology that if a kid can't read by third grade, then they'll never be able to read. Why are you getting paid? Because you playing games. You game playing. You're a crook. You're a robber. You're a stealer. You're a thief. Because you looking at a kid and say, you ain't never gonna be nothing, but I'm gonna just go through the motions anyway. You got problems. They can learn how to read. I don't care what level they come to you at. Your job is to make them better.
Right.
So if they're at a level 1, your job is to get them to a level 2, and then take that level 2 kid to the next level. So then that person take them to a level 3. They might not have got the foundation skills, but when they get in your classroom, it has to be in your mindset that they're gonna be better in my class. Right. And same thing as a principal, there has to be a mindset to say every kid that walked through my building gonna graduate. If I got my promise to parents was if I got to grab your baby by his shorts and throw him across the graduation line, I promise you, he in my school, he gonna do it. Give me a little support, mama and daddy. If you send them off to my school, and I guarantee you they're gonna graduate. And not only gonna graduate, they're gonna go to college, or they're gonna go to the military, or they're gonna go to a trade school, or we're gonna prepare them to go to the world of work. But the world of work is last because I want them to go to either one of those things to continue to develop themselves. So when they go to work, they're as successful as possible and they can stick with it.
Woo! Let the church say amen.
Amen.
Because you just listening to you've given such a powerful testimony. Because had I not known that backstory, I just would have thought you went to school, got a scholarship to play football, decided to major in sociology, go into counseling and education. But to hear you share your journey and what you went through, and then the turnaround is very, very inspiring. It really is. How long did it take you as principal? You were principal of McKinley. Is it McKinley? How long?
Shout out to the Max.
I'm sorry.
Shout out to the McKinley Max. Listen, I love McKinley. So I got to get some kids some scholarships next year. So whoever the principal is, holler at me, man. I'm gonna give y'all some scholarships.
How long did it take you to I guess see a change in terms of the percentages? Because how long were you the principal?
I was principal for a year, 5 years, one of those. But then I was assistant principal for about 3-4 years.
At the same school?
Yeah, so I was there for like 7-8 years.
Okay.
So what happened was the principal at the time, old school principal. I mean, old school. And she put me over the seniors right when I got there. And them seniors are off the meat rack. They was off the chain. Folks, I'm trilingual. I speak English, I speak Creole, and I'm fluent in Ebonics. So holler at me. What I'm saying? If you got to go to Ebonics 101, I'll walk you through it. But them kids was bad, right? They have problems. And then they put me there, to put the big black man over the seniors. People said, man, them kids ain't gonna listen to you, man. These kids, they do whatever they want. So I had to come in there and clamp them down, and then I started to put systems in place to start to change that graduation rate, just from the senior perspective. I would be at the park on senior skip day. Mr. Abraham at the park. Y'all bet if I got to drive 45 minutes, if I got to meet you at the restaurant, get your butt from around here, you going to school. If I got to come to your house, you going to school. I got charged to say, this is my group, and I got to make them better.
Right.
Then when I became principal, I took all those strategies that I started putting in place, brought it to scale, and then we started to make The difference was being made with me being over that group. And then when I got the seat of the principal, I did everything that I did, but I took it across the whole school. And
Mm-hmm.
so it took about 3 years to get us to where we would start to function.
Mm-hmm.
And two things: any assistant principal, don't think your whole job is discipline.
Yeah.
That's a word within itself. Assistant principal, your job is to assist the principal. You
Mm-hmm.
serve at the pleasure of your principal, but you have a job which is instruction, a job which is to assure that kids are being successful. You're not the enforcer. You're not the
Mm-hmm.
disciplinarian. You are a instructional leader, a visionary leader. It has to be under the auspices of the vision of the principal. But
Mm-hmm.
whatever you get charged over, you got academics need to be first. Second, principals, if you're listening to this and you want to make a difference, trust and believe that difference does not come without adversity and persecution.
Yes.
When you're talking about changing mindsets for Black and brown children, you get so much pushback, it don't even make sense. See, I would have my kids say a pledge every single day, and we would call ourselves. The school was a middle of the road school. The school was like a school that was like you ask people like, "What's our school about?" We a middle road school. We not the worst. We ain't the best. We just in the middle. I hated that. I hated that in the past. I ain't never want to be in the middle of anything. Like what the middle? Either call me the worst or call me the best. You either love Dr. Abraham or you hate me. You either say, "Ooh, that's my man. I love him," or you say, "I can't stand the way he even look. He just walk ugly." Whatever the case, you either love me or hate me. I can't be. I'm not gonna be like come see come side. Like I'm just like bland. That ain't me.
Mm-hmm.
So I hated that. I the next day we started calling ourselves the best school in the land. We got a 60% graduation. I'm calling us the best school in the land. This school's in our district that was all white, had 90%, 100% graduation rate. And I said, I'm the best school in the land, often imitated, never duplicated, only one MAC high. And I had this commissioner ask me, he said, well, Dr. Abraham, you heard me saying this. He said, you said we called the best school in the land. Who was the we? Mm-hmm. I said, we, me, myself, and I. It was one dude that was a we, made it to us, and then it started to catch like wildfire. Principals, another point is if you don't like the narrative of your school, it's incumbent on you to change it. Mm-hmm. It's your responsibility as the chief culture creator to make sure that culture is set, and success should be the only thing that you're thinking about. Mm-hmm. So there it is.
Let me ask you a question. What if there is a principal who does not have the autonomy because maybe the superintendent has not allowed them to actually run their school? What do they do?
Let me say this, Principal.
Get out of Dodge?
No, I'll say this. My boy said this. It's something called good trouble. Mm. And if you are saying, so if the superintendent not going to come to your school every single day, I had a superintendent tell me, well, I don't think the graduation rate should be like this. I took the keys off my neck. You want to run school? Do you want to run school? Because the school could be yours to run. If not, don't tell me how to run my school. There's a principal in charge of the school legally. That principal is responsible for that school. So unless you're going to fire me, get out my way. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to run it the way God told me to run it. Now, if you don't like that, give me my resignation, give me my papers. I'll leave tomorrow. Yeah. So if you're a principal, I can't give you backbone, baby. You got to either come to the door with that. I can give you skills, I can give you strategy, but if you scared of your superintendent, and I heard one principal say, Dr. Abraham, I know you talking about these black kids, and I understand that, but I got mortgages to pay. I answer the Bank of America. Well, baby, maybe this calling ain't for you. You need to go do something else. It's Walgreens, Walmart, all them people always hiring. Because you ain't no good if you sitting in a job knowing, Dr. King said, if you know injustice is happening and you do nothing about that, you just as wrong as the people that's doing it.
Right.
So if you're afraid of your superintendent because you're gonna lose your little job, you'll lose your little paycheck, you ain't the right person to be leading no black kids that are being led to the slaughter, because if they don't graduate from high school, they end up like my homeboy. So shame on you if you a scary, spineless principal that don't want to do the job because you too scared of what's gonna happen to you. I got a vote of no confidence my first year. I got 35 grievances. I went down there so proud. What's next? Because I'm still gonna do my job. Unless you're gonna kick me out, I'm gonna do the job because I believe. I had to hug mothers that their son died.
Mm-hmm.
You think I care about you crying in my office? You think I care about that? I don't care about you crying in my office, Miss Karen. I don't care about that. You can cry all you want, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna hold you accountable for them kids graduating.
Right.
Because that's your job. And if you can't
Right.
do the job, quit.
Right.
We'll get somebody else to do the job. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
All
You
right,
sure did. All right. So tell folks, where can they get your book?
It's I mean,
It's everywhere.
It is. I mean, it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble. A lot of people hit me up and say, Dr. Abraham, I want you to sign it. I say, send me your address and send me a cash app. I'll sign it and send it to you tomorrow. But if you don't want that and you just want to read it, go to just Google what success looks like. If you go to Roman and Littlefield, shout out to Roman and Littlefield, just go to their website. I'm one of the featured authors on there. And you just click that and my book come up, purchase it. It's really gonna bless you. I promise you. If you're a principal and you're struggling, I promise you, it's gonna bless you. Gonna change your life.
Have you thought about
I did.
what did
I joke.
you know what I'm gonna ask?
I don't know. I'm just messing with you.
Have you thought about connecting with universities with their principal leadership and preparation programs?
No, you're right. I did think about that.
Okay.
So I would, if you got the plug over there in Chicago, I would love to come in and get that book to all the principals, because the research says that principals are not trained properly for urban schools.
Right.
See, it's one thing to go out and be a principal of a suburban school. It's another thing when them kids come in smelling like they sprayed themselves with Kush cologne. And they walked through, what's Kush? Marijuana cologne. You know, they came in there with the Kush body spray. And you walk around with that skunk. Golly, I got a contact high. What do you do then, Mr. Principal?
Right.
They ain't taught that. Or a kid come in with a knife or a weapon. What do you do there? We suspend them. Okay, cool.
Well, I am looking forward to your book, and I am going to go on record, try to see if we can get this book at the University of Illinois at Chicago, because we definitely have a principal preparation program, just as we also have a superintendent program as well. So we definitely need you here in Chicago. And if folks, okay, and if folks want to find you, and where should they go to book you, or?
Yeah, you hit me up on Instagram, Dr._Marck_Abraham. It's Marck Marck. It's the fully loaded version of Mark. I got all the bells and whistles with that one. You could go to Twitter, Dr._Marck Abraham, or hit me on LinkedIn, Facebook. It's all the same. Just put my name in, I come up. Just type my name in the search bar, I'll pull up.
Okay, you worldwide. I got you. Well, it was such a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you much success in your endeavors. And I think that the folks need you. So we need somebody like you who is definitely concerned with the success of our children, and particularly our young Black males, but who also has made a commitment to put your money where your mouth is, right? So,
yes, ma'am.
So very much. Do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Listen, all I can say is, I just want you to say it one more time. Doc, you got to say this with me. You got to say it. So listen, Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Black males
Black males
can graduate
can graduate
high school
high school
at 80,
at 80,
90,
90,
and 100%.
and 100%.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get it.
That's it. All right, Doc, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so very much. And to all of you in the viewing audience, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Light It Up. Until next time, continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.lightituppodcast.com or www.aginahmuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle @LITEITUpPodcast. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.